An Australia Company Guide. The Australian Securities and Investments Commission at acic.gov.au. Search for a company at connectonline.acic.gov.au/registry search/faces/landing/search re. gistus.jspx_adf.control state equals T68dm0_4. They want money for lists of companies. acic.gov.au/online-services/search-acic-s-registers/number-sign companies. List of the top 30 Australia company websites at disfold.com/top-companies-australia-asx. Afterpay.com. amcor.com. anz.com.au. apa.com.au. aristocrat.com. bhp.com. brambles.com. charterhall.com.au. colesgroup.com.au. combank.com.au. csl.com.au. fmgl.com.au. goodman.com. macquarie.com. nab.com.au. newcrest.com. qbe.com. ramseyhealth.com. rea-group.com. riotinto.com. santos.com. centurygroup.com. sonichealthcare.com. sydneyairport.com.au. telefonestra.com.au. transurban.com.au. westfarmers.com.au. westpac.com.au. woodside.com.au. woolworthsgroup.com.au. Lists of companies on the ASX, Australian Securities Exchange. marketindex.com.au. asx.com.au. listcorp.com. ASX Top 20 Companies. ASX20list.com. A list of Australia business listing websites at webzeotutorial.com/business-listing/australian-business-listing.html. adpapa.com.au. adpost.com/o. adct.com.au. adsnitty.com/best/Australia. advertiser.com. oclassifieds.com.au. aufreeds.com. ontads.com. australialisted.com. australianplanet.com. backpage.me.uk. bedpage.com. bigcityadvertising.com. bondyclassifieds.com.au. boostcruising.com. businesslistings.net.au. buysearchsell.com.au. buysearchsell.com.au. cavaliti.com.au. chaosads.com. classified.com.au. classifiedads.com. classifiedsfactor.com. countrycars.com.au. dualist.com.au. ebackpage.com. findarmaster.com. fmclassifieds.com. freeadstime.org. giganticlist.com. gopost.com.au. gopost.com.au. gumtree.com.au. h1ad.com. hooks.com. ibackpage.com. icracker.com.au. coas.com. localstore.com.au. loconto.com.au. melbourne.craigslist.org. quickzone.com.au. rectanglead.com. thuistclassifieds.com.au. tradingpost.com.au. vkclassifieds.net.au. wallclassifieds.com. Lists of Australia business listing websites at tend-to-read.com/Australia-business-listing-sites. 247webdirectory.com. abdo.com.au. abpd.com.au. addeals.com.au. adelaidebd.com.au. adelaidebusiness.directory. AdelaideZooUthAustralia.net, AdvanceAustraliaFair.com, AdventurePro.com.au, Advertiser.com, AGFG.com.au, AtoZPages.com.au, ATUG.com.au, au.wowcity.com, au.zenbulletin.org, obise.org, obises.com, ocompanycatalog.com, ogoals.com, aus61business.com, ausdirectory.org, auseverything.com.au, auspage.com, aussie-hours.com, aussiebusiness.directory, aussieimporters.com, aussiezeek.com, aussieweb.com.au, australia-directory.com, australia-business-listing.com.au, australia-business-directory.com, australia.bizdirlib.com, australia24.com.au, australia2business.com, australia5com.com, australiabizdir.com, australiabusinessdirectory.info, australiabusinesslist.online, australiadirectory.net, australialinks.com.au, australianbizdirectory.com.au, australianbusiness.com, australianbusinessdirectory.info, australiandirectories.com.au, australianmanufacturing.com.au, australiannaturalhealthcare.com, australianplanet.com, australianstieradaservicesdirectory.net, australiaonlineadvertising.com.au, australiatravelsearch.com.au, australiaep.com, bayside.vic.gov.au/community-directory, beautyandspas.com.au, bunvad.com, bigjumbuck.com, bizdirect.com.au, blue.com.au, bluemts.com.au/ad-your-business, business.directoryofaustralia.com.au, business.gov.au/registration/register-your-business-name, businesslistingnow.com, businesslistings.net.au, businesszoom.com.au, classifiedsfactor.com, clickblue.com.au, comeonaussie.com, companiesofaustralia.com, dualist.com.au, directory.com.au, directory.eurostate.com.au, directoryaustralian.com, directorycritic.com, daisylocal.com.au, dlook.com.au, e-australia.com.au, eclickd.com.au, ersats.com.au, fashionplaytest.com, find-us-here.com, findbusinessonline.com.au, findarmaster.com, findinaustralia.com, findingaustralia.com, flyingzolo.com.au, freead.com.au, freeadstime.org, freedirectory.com.au, fyple.biz, get.whitepages.com.au/listings, gedlist.net.au, giftware.net.au, giganticlist.com, goforit.com.au, goguide.com.au, greenfinder.com.au, guideaustralia.com, gumtree.com.au, h1ad.com, hypages.com.au, hotfrog.com.au, ibizprofile-o.com, iglobal.co, industrylink.com.au, infobell.com, infoisinfo-o.com, iti.com.au, jadoo.com.au/search, jadoo.com.au, kangaroobiz.com, Kotaningwa.com, kmdirectory.com.au, links.anchor.com.au, list-directory.info, leavepages.com.au, local.com.au, localbd.com.au, localbusinessguide.com.au, localbusinesslink.com.au, localcraft.com.au, localfinder.co, localstore.com.au, maternal.com.au, mrwhat-o.com, mumbrella.com.au/business-directory, mybusinesscentral.com.au, myshariffa.com, nationaldirectory.com.au, nationwide.com.au, nbtrade.com.au, nearrefindraw.com, nooza-holiday-acommo.com.au, oneflare.com.au, onlylocal.com.au, openda.com.au, ourpatch.com.au, ozbusiness.com.au, ozbuys.com.au/glinks, ozfind.com.au, ozn.com.au, penarthaustralia.com.au, perthwa.com/pages, pinkpages.com.au, poidb.com, portlincoln.net, possumpages.com.au, priceline.com.au, productreview.com.au, purelocal.com.au, qldbusinessdirectory.com.au, rectanglead.com, service.com.au, smea.org.au, startlocal.com.au, superpages.com.au, sydneybusinessdirectory.net, theaustraliatimes.com/business-directory, topdirectory.com.au, tradewithaustralia.com/exporters, truefinders.com.au, truelocal.com.au, 2ugo.biz, varietybusinessdirectory.com.au, visitperth.com/business-directory, wallclassifieds.com, wampit.com.au, web-directory-australia.info, webfind.com.au, webnetwork.com.au, websiteguide.com.au, websitelink.com.au, whereis.com, whoisthegreatest.com.au, wordofmouth.com.au, worlddirectory.com.au, yalwa.com.au, yellow.com.au, yellowbook.com.au, yourcity.com.au, yourtier80.com.au, zipleaf.auz.net. A list of Australia companies at en.wikipedia.org/wiki/list_of_companies_of_Australia. ABB Grain, Consumer Goods, Farming and Fishing, Adelaide, Agriculture. ABC Learning, Consumer Services, Specialised Consumer Services, Brisbane, Education Services. ACE Radio, Consumer Services, Broadcasting and Entertainment, Melbourne, Radio Broadcasting. Adam Internet, Telecommunications, Fixed Line Telecommunications, Adelaide, Internet Service Provider, part of TPG. Telecom. Aerosonde Ltd, Industrials, Aerospace, Notting Hill, UAV Manufacturing. AGL Energy, Utilities, Multi-Utilities, Sydney, Electrical and Gas, ASX, AGK. Alinta Gas, Utilities, Gas Distribution, Perth, Gas Distributor. Alphanese, Telecommunications, Fixed Line Telecommunications, Roads, Mobile and Broadband. Altium, Technology, Software, Sydney, Software. Alumina Limited, Basic Materials, Aluminium, Melbourne, Aluminium. Amcor, Industrials, Containers and Packaging, Hawthorn, Packaging, ASX, AMC. AMP Limited, Financials, Consumer Finance, Sydney, Financial Services, ASX, AMP. ANCA, Industrials, Industrial Machinery, Melbourne, Grinding Machines. Angus and Robertson, Consumer Services, Specialty Retailers, Sydney, Bookseller. Ansarada, Technology, Software, Sydney, Virtual. Data Room. Ansell, Consumer Goods, Personal Products, Melbourne, Latex Gloves, Condoms. Appliances Online, Consumer Services, Specialty Retailers, Sydney, Appliances Retailer. Aquila Shoes, Consumer Services, Personal Goods, Melbourne, Shoe Manufacturer and Clothing Retailer. Aristocrat Leisure, Consumer Services, Gambling, Sydney, Gaming Machines. Arnott's Biscuits, Consumer Goods, Food Products, Sydney, part of Campbell Soup Company, U.S. Arium, Basic Materials, Iron and Steel, Sydney, Mining, Steel. Aero Research Corporation, Technology, Software, Melbourne, Financial and Accounting Software. ASC Thai Ltd, Industrials, Defence, Osborne, manufacturer of Collins-class submarines and Hobart-class destroyers. Atlas Xi'an, Technology, Software, Sydney, Software. Aurizon, Industrials, Railroads, Brisbane, formerly QR. National. Aussie Broadband, Telecommunications, Fixed Line and Wireless. Telecommunications, Morwell, Victoria, Telecommunications. Austal Ships, Industrials, Commercial Vehicles and Trucks, Perth, manufacturer of high-speed ferries and U.S. naval ships. Austar, Telecommunications, Fixed Line Telecommunications, Sydney, Telecommunications. Austereo, Consumer Services, Broadcasting and Entertainment, Melbourne, Radio Broadcasting. Defunct, now. Australia. Australia Post, Industrials, Delivery Services, Melbourne, Postal Service. Australia and New Zealand Banking Group, ANZ, Financials, Banks, Melbourne, Bank, ASX, ANZ. Australian Agricultural Company, Consumer Goods, Farming and. Australian Air Express, Industrials, Delivery Services, Melbourne, Express Parcel Company. Australian Airlines, Consumer Services, Airlines, Cairns, now part of Qantas. Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Consumer Services, Broadcasting and Entertainment, Sydney, Radio and Television Broadcasting. Australian Defence Industries, Industrials, Aerospace and Defence, Sydney, Weapons Manufacturer. Australian Ethical Investment, Financials, Investment Services, Sydney, Investment Firm. Australian Gas Light Company, Utilities, Conventional Electricity, Sydney, Gas and Electricity Retailer. Australian Motor Industries, AMI, Consumer Goods, Automobiles, Port Melbourne, bought out. Australian Securities Exchange, Financials, Investment Services, Sydney, Stock Exchange. Australian Pharmaceutical Industries, Healthcare, Pharmaceuticals, Sydney, Pharmaceutical. Australian Railroad Group, Industrials, Railroads, Welshpool, now owned by Aurizon. Ausway, Industrials, Business Support Services, Melbourne, Cartography. AWB Limited, Consumer Goods, Farming and Fishing, Melbourne, Agriculture, acquired by Agrium, Canada. Babcock and Brown, Financials, Investment Services, Sydney. Base Systems Australia, Industrials, Defence, Adelaide, part of Base Systems, UK. Baker's Delight, Consumer Services, Restaurants and Bars, Melbourne, Bakery Chain. Bank of Queensland, Financials, Banks, Brisbane, Bank, ASX, BOQ. Beaurepaires, Consumer Services, Tires, Melbourne, Tires. Becker Entertainment, Consumer Services, Broadcasting and BHP, Mining, Oil and Gas, Exploration and Production, Melbourne, Mining, Oil, ASX, BHP. Billabong, Consumer Goods, Clothing and Accessories, Gold. Bingley, Consumer Services, Specialty Retailers, Sydney, Electronics. Biases Thai Ltd, Industrials, Business Support Services, Port Melbourne, Environmental and Heritage Consulting. BlueScope, Basic Materials, Iron and Steel, Melbourne, Steel, ASX, BSL. Blundstone Footwear, Consumer Goods, Footwear, Hobart, Clothing. Bogues Brewery, Consumer Goods, Brewers, Launceston, Brewery, now part of Lion. Boost Juice Bars, Consumer Services, Restaurants and Bars, Melbourne, Juice Chain. Boral, Industrials, Heavy Construction, Sydney, Construction. Brambles Limited, Industrials, Delivery Services, Sydney, Business Services, ASX, BXB. Broadcasting. Brown Brothers Millowa Vineyard, Consumer Goods, Distillers. Bulla Dairy Foods, Consumer Goods, Beverages, Melbourne, Dairy. Bunnings Warehouse, Consumer Services, Home Improvement. Burnsville, Consumer Goods, Food Products, Sydney, Food. By Toyota, Japan. By Base Systems Australia. Camperdown Dairy International, Consumer Goods, Food Products, Melbourne, Infant Formula Retailer. Canva, Consumer Services, Specialized Consumer Services, Sydney, Design Creation Website. CBH Group, Consumer Goods, Farming and Fishing, Perth, Agriculture. SPUS, Financials, Equity Investment Instruments, Melbourne, Industry Funds. KeyMec, Healthcare, Pharmaceuticals, Perth, Pharmaceutical. CHEP, Industrials, Delivery Services, Sydney, Supply Chain. CIMIC Group, Industrials, Heavy Construction, Sydney, Infrastructure Contractor, ASX, CIM. CityRail, Consumer Services, Travel and Tourism, Sydney, Transport. Clean Seas, Consumer Goods, Farming and Fishing, Royal. Coast, Clothing. Coca-Cola Amatil, Consumer Goods, Soft Drinks, Sydney, Beverage, ASX, CCL. Cochlear Limited, Healthcare, Biotechnology, Sydney, Biotech. Coles Group, Consumer Services, Broadline Retailers, Melbourne, Retail Chain. Commonwealth Bank, Financials, Banks, Sydney, Bank, ASX, CBA. Compare the Market Australia, Financials, Insurance Brokers, Brisbane, Insurance Comparison Site. Compass Resources, Basic Materials, General Mining, Sydney, Mining. Computershare, Financials, Investment Services, Melbourne, Stock Transfer Agent, ASX, CPU. Connect East, Industrials, Heavy Construction, Melbourne, Construction. Construction, Newcastle, Urban Renewal. Consumer Services, Melbourne, Retirement Real Estate. Contractor. Cotton On, Consumer Services, Apparel Retailers, Geelong, Clothing Chain. Country Energy, Utilities, Conventional Electricity, Port Macquarie, Energy Retailer. Crazy John's, Consumer Services, Specialty Retailers, Melbourne, Mobile Phone Retail Chain. Crown Resorts, Consumer Services, Hotels, Melbourne, Gaming, Hotels, ASX, CWN. Crumpler, Consumer Goods, Recreational Products, Melbourne, Bags. CSL Limited, Healthcare, Biotechnology, Melbourne, Biotech, ASX, CSL. CSR Limited, Basic Materials, General Mining, Sydney, Mining. Darrell Lee, Consumer Goods, Food Products, Sydney, Confectionery. David Jones Limited, Consumer Services, Broadline Retailers, Melbourne, Retail Department Stores. De Bortoli Wines, Consumer Goods, Distillers and Vintners, Bilboul, Winery. Debt Mediators Australia, Consumer Services, Specialised Consumer. Delta Electricity, Utilities, Conventional Electricity, Sydney, Electrical. Dick Smith Electronics, Consumer Services, Specialty Retailers, Sydney, Retail Electronics. Dick Smith Foods, Consumer Goods, Food Products, Sydney, Foods. Dorff Clark Industries, Consumer Goods, Building Materials and Downer Group, Industrials, Business Support Services, Sydney, Engineering, Management Services. Dryzabone, Consumer Goods, Clothing and Accessories, Melbourne, Apparel. Dymex Booksellers, Consumer Services, Specialty Retailers, Sydney, Bookstores. Eagle Boys, Consumer Services, Restaurants and Bars, Brisbane, Fast Food, Pizza. Avtel, Telecommunications, Fixed Line Telecommunications, Perth, Internet Service Provider. Elders Limited, Consumer Goods, Farming and Fishing, Adelaide, Agriculture. Elfin Cars, Consumer Goods, Automobiles, Melbourne, Sports Car Manufacturer. EmploySure, Consumer Services, Business Support Services, Sydney, Workplace Relations Consulting. Energex, Utilities, Conventional Electricity, Brisbane, Electrical Distribution. Energy Australia, Utilities, Multi-Utilities, Melbourne, Electricity and Natural Gas Supplier. Entertainment, Cairns, Multimedia Agency. Entertainment, Sydney, Radio and Television. Entertainment, Melbourne, Broadcasting. Entertainment, Sydney, Distributor, Production House. Entertainment, Sydney, Television Production. Entertainment, Melbourne, Cinema Media. Enviromission, Utilities, Alternative Electricity, Melbourne, Solar Power. Eraring Energy, Utilities, Conventional Electricity, Sydney, Power Generation. Ergon Energy, Utilities, Conventional Electricity, Townsville, Energy Distribution. Easondot, Financials, Consumer Finance, Melbourne, Financial Services. Estate Franchise. Event Hospitality and Entertainment, Consumer Services, Recreational Services, Technology, Sydney, operates Event Cinemas, Reggie's Hotels and Resorts, and Threadbow, ASX. EVT. Fairfax Media, Consumer Services, Publishing, Sydney, publishes The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. Financial Services, ASX, WBC. Fishing, Brisbane, one of the oldest extant companies in fixtures, Brisbane, taps, sinks, tubs. Flight Centre, Consumer Services, Travel and Tourism, Brisbane, Travel Services. Florigene, Healthcare, Biotechnology, Melbourne, Biotech. Foodland Supermarkets, Consumer Services, Food Retailers and Fortescue Metals Group, Basic Materials, General Mining, Perth, Mining, ASX, FMG. Foster's Group, Consumer Goods, Brewers, Melbourne, Brewery, part of SAB Miller, UK. Foxtel, Consumer Services, Broadcasting and Entertainment, Sydney, Pay Television Broadcasting. Franklin's, Consumer Services, Food Retailers and Wholesalers, Sydney, Supermarket. Freehand Group, Consumer Services, Broadcasting and Mitbull Limited, Financials, Life Insurance, Geelong, Health Insurance. Golden North, Consumer Goods, Food Products, Laura, Ice cream. Goodman Fielder, consumer goods, food products, Sydney, breads, dairy. Grocon, industrials, heavy construction, Melbourne, construction. Guns, basic materials, forestry, Launceston, timber. GWA International, consumer goods, durable household. Hayes Chocolates, consumer goods, food products, Adelaide, confectionery. Half Brick Studios, technology, software, Brisbane, video game developer. Harvey Norman, consumer services, specialty retailers, Sydney, electronic, furniture retail. Healthscope, healthcare, healthcare providers, Melbourne, private hospitals. Henry Jones IXL, consumer goods, food products, Hobart, jams, sauces. HIH Insurance, financials, full line insurance, Sydney, insurance. Holden, consumer goods, automobiles, Melbourne, auto manufacturing, part of General Motors Corporation, U.S. Holden Special Vehicles, consumer goods, automobiles, Melbourne, part of Holden. Honeysuckle Development Corporation, industrials, heavy. Horticulture interests. One Aquaculture, consumer goods, food products, Dover, food. IGA, consumer services, food retailers and wholesalers, Perth, supermarket chain. TwoNet, telecommunications, fixed line telecommunications, Perth, internet service provider. Incat, industrials, commercial vehicles and trucks, Hobart, catamarans. Incitec Pivot, basic materials, specialty chemicals, Melbourne, chemicals and explosives manufacturer. Insurance Australia Group, financials, full line insurance, Sydney, insurance. Internode Systems, telecommunications, fixed line. IOOF Holdings, financials, asset managers, Melbourne, financial services. Ikenovate, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, Sydney, pharma. JB Hi-Fi Electrical, consumer services, specialty retailers, Melbourne, household appliances. Jetstar Airways, consumer services, airlines, Melbourne, airline. Kangaroo Bus Lines, consumer services, travel and tourism, Brisbane, Brisbane Bus Company. Kennedy Nolan, industrials, business support services, Melbourne, architecture. King Living, consumer services, specialty retailers, Sydney, furniture retail, design and manufacturing. CleanMade, consumer services, specialty retailers, Brisbane, appliances retailer. Kogan.com, consumer services, broadline retailers, Melbourne, online department store. Lunka Graphite, basic materials, general mining, Melbourne, mining, ASX, LGR. Leading Edge Group, consumer services, broadline retailers, Sydney, retail group. Lend-Lease Retirement Living, consumer services, specialized. Lend-Lease, industrials, heavy construction, Sydney, infrastructure, ASX, LLC. Lion, consumer goods, food and beverage, Sydney, food and beverage. LJ Hooker, financials, real estate services, Sydney, real. Lowe's Menswear, consumer services, apparel retailers, Sydney, menswear. MAB Corporation, financials, real estate services, Melbourne, property management. Macquarie Atlas Roads, industrials, heavy construction, Sydney, roads and infrastructure. Macquarie Group, financials, investment services, Sydney, investment banking, financial services. Matten Guitars, consumer goods, recreational products, Melbourne, musical instruments. McGrath Estate Agents, financials, real estate services, Sydney, real estate services. Media. MediaPoint, Industrials, Business Support Services, Melbourne, Advertising and Print. Melbourne IT, Technology, Software, Melbourne, Services. Meriton, Financials, Real Estate Holding and Development, Sydney, Property Developer. Metalstorm, Industrials, Defence, Brisbane, Defence. Mirvac, Consumer Services, Hotels, Sydney, Hotel. Multiplex, Industrials, Heavy Construction, Sydney, Construction. Maze, Consumer Services, Travel and Tourism, Canberra, Bus. Myer, Consumer Services, Broadline Retailers, Melbourne, Retail Department Stores. MYOB, Technology, Software, Melbourne, Accounting Software. Nash Timbers, Industrials, Building Materials and Fixtures, Sydney, Flooring, Beams. National Storage, Consumer Services, Specialised Consumer. National Australia Bank, Financials, Banks, Melbourne, Bank, ASX, NAB. Navitas Limited, Education, For-Profit Private Education Services, Perth, Education Services. Netbox Blue, Technology, Internet, Brisbane, Internet Security. Network 10, Consumer Services, Broadcasting and Entertainment, Sydney, Television Broadcasting. Newcastle Port Corporation, Industrials, Transportation Services, Newcastle, Seaport. Newcrest Mining, Basic Materials, General Mining, Melbourne, Mining, ASX, NCM. 9 Network, Consumer Services, Broadcasting and Entertainment, Sydney, Television Broadcasting. Nufarm, Basic Materials, Specialty Chemicals, Melbourne, Chemicals Manufacturer. Octavire, Financials, Investment Services, Southport, Investment Firm. Office National, Consumer Services, Specialty Retailers, Sydney, Retail Office Supplies. Officeworks, Consumer Services, Specialty Retailers, Melbourne, Retail Office Supplies. One Flare, Consumer Services, Specialised Consumer Services, Sydney, Oporto, Consumer Services, Restaurants and Bars, Sydney, Restaurant. Optus, Telecommunications, Fixed Line Telecommunications, Sydney, this telco gives service for mobile phones and. Orbital Corporation, Oil and Gas, Alternative Energy, Balcata, Alternative Fuel Systems. Orica, Basic Materials, General Mining, Melbourne, Mining Support, ASX, Ori. Origin Energy, Oil and Gas, Exploration and Production, Sydney, ASX, Org. Orocobra, Basic Materials, General Mining, Brisbane, Mining. Pacific Star Network, Consumer Services, Broadcasting and. Park, South Australia, CMB Group, Transport. Patrick Corporation, Industrials, Delivery Services, Sydney. People Telecom, Telecommunications, Fixed Line Telecommunications, Sydney, Telecommunications. Peter Lehman Wines, Consumer Goods, Distillers and Vintners, Barossa Valley, Winery. Pipe Networks, Telecommunications, Fixed Line Telecommunications, Brisbane, ISP. Promina Group, Financials, Full Line Insurance, Brisbane, Insurance. Qantas, Consumer Services, Airlines, Sydney, Airline, ASX, QAN. Queensland Rail, Industrials, Railroads, Brisbane, Railway. Rail Infrastructure Corporation, Industrials, Railroads, Sydney, Railway. Ramsay Healthcare, Healthcare Providers, Sydney, Private Hospitals. Red Rooster, Consumer Services, Restaurants and Bars, Balcata, Fast Food Retail Chain. Redbubble, Consumer Services, Apparel Retailers, Melbourne, Retail Personalised Clothing. Retailers, Melbourne, hardware chain owned by Rinker Group, Industrials, Building Materials and Fixtures, Sydney, Cement and Construction, acquired by Chemex in Rio Tinto Group, Basic Materials, General Mining, Melbourne, Mining, ASX, Rio. Rip Curl, Consumer Goods, Clothing and Accessories, Torquay, Surf Brand. Rode Microphones, Technology, Professional Microphones, Sydney, Designer and Manufacturer of Studio Microphones. Roy Morgan Research, Industrials, Business Support Services, Melbourne, Services. Sanitarium Health and Wellbeing Company, Consumer Goods, Food. Santos, Basic Materials, General Mining, Adelaide, Mining, ASX, Stowe. Sausage Software, Technology, Software, Melbourne, Software. Centre Group, Consumer Services, Broadline Retailers, Sydney, Shopping Centres. Searle X Waldron, Industrials, Business Support Services, Melbourne, Architecture. 7 Network, Consumer Services, Broadcasting and Entertainment, Sydney, Television Broadcasting, part of 7 West. Sydney Cook Limited, Industrials, Printing Products, Melbourne, Manufactured Products related to printing. Sigma Pharmaceuticals, Healthcare, Pharmaceuticals, Melbourne, Pharmaceuticals. Sino Gold Mining, Basic Materials, Gold Mining, Sydney, Mining in China. Slater and Gordon, Industrials, Business Support Services, Melbourne, Services, Law Firm. Smorgon Steel, Basic Materials, Iron and Steel, Melbourne, merged in with One Steel. Snowy Hydro, Utilities, Alternative Electricity, Kuma, Electricity Generation. Southern and Silverton Rail, Industrials, Railroads, Broken Hill, Railroad. Southern Cross Austereo. SPC Ardmana, Industrials, Containers and Packaging, Melbourne, Packing, Canning, part of Coca-Cola Amatil. Special Broadcasting Service, Consumer Services, Broadcasting and St. George Bank, Financials, Banks, Sydney, Bank. Stanwell Corporation, Utilities, Conventional Electricity, Brisbane, Electricity Generation. Star Entertainment Group, Consumer Services, Hotels, Brisbane, Gaming, Hotels, Restaurants, ASX, EGP. Sting Sports, Consumer Goods, Clothing and Accessories, Melbourne, Sportswear Manufacturer. Suncorp Group, Financials, Financial Services, Brisbane, Financial Services. Sunland Group, Financials, Real Estate Holding and Development, Brisbane, Property Developer, ASX, SDG. Sydney Ferries, Consumer Services, Travel and Tourism, Sydney, Sydney Water, Utilities, Water, Sydney, Utilities. Tabcorp Holdings, Consumer Services, Gambling, Melbourne, Betting Company, ASX, TA. Target Australia, Consumer Services, Broadline Retailers, Geelong, Consumer Goods, part of Wesfarmers. Taro Cash, Consumer Goods, Clothing and Accessories, Melbourne, Clothing Manufacturer. Tats Group, Consumer Services, Gambling, Melbourne, Wagering, Lotteries and Gaming, ASX, TDS. Technology One, Technology, Software, Brisbane, Enterprise Software, ASX, TNE. Telecommunications, Adelaide, Internet Service Provider. Telstra, Telecommunications, Fixed Line Telecommunications, Melbourne, Telecommunications. Tenix Defence, Industrials, Defence, Sydney, bought out. Tip Top Bakeries, Consumer Goods, Food Products, Sydney, Bakery. Toll Group, Industrials, Delivery Services, Melbourne, Freight and Logistics Company, ASX, Toll. Taurus Games, Technology, Software, Melbourne, video game developer. TPG Telecom, telecommunications, fixed line telecommunications, Sydney, internet service provider, ASX, TPM. Transperth, consumer services, travel and tourism, Perth, public transportation. Transurban, industrials, transportation services, Melbourne, operator of toll roads, ASX, TCL. UGL Limited, industrials, business support services, Sydney, engineering and property services. Vero Insurance, financials, full line insurance, Sydney, insurance. Vicinity centres, financials, residential rights, Melbourne, retail property. Village Roadshow, consumer services, broadcasting and Village Cinemas, consumer services, recreational services, Melbourne, cinema chain. Virgin Australia, consumer services, airlines, Brisbane, airline. Visual Obsession, consumer services, broadcasting and Waddell, basic materials, specialty chemicals, Sydney, paint manufacturer. WebJ, consumer services, travel and tourism, Melbourne, online travel agency, ASX, Web. Wesfarmers, consumer services, broadline retailers, Perth, retailer conglomerate, ASX, Wes. Westnet, telecommunications, fixed line telecommunications, Perth, internet service provider. Westpac, financials, banks, Sydney, bank. Wine selectors, consumer goods, distillers and vintners, Newcastle, wine marketing and logistics. Winning appliances, consumer services, specialty retailers, Sydney, kitchen and laundry retail. Woods Bagot, industrials, business support services, Adelaide, architecture consulting. Woodside Petroleum, oil and gas, exploration and production, Perth, petroleum exploration and production, ASX, WPL. Woolworths, consumer services, broadline retailers, Sydney, retail, ASX, WOW. Worley, industrials, business support services, Sydney, consulting. Zinifex, basic materials, non-ferrous metals, Melbourne, zinc mining. These Australia lists are at en.wikipedia.org. List of airlines of Australia. Australian companies in China. List of banks in Australia. List of breweries in Australia. List of hotels in Australia. List of magazines in Australia. List of pizzerias in Australia. List of pubs in Australia. List of radio stations in Australia. List of restaurant chains in Australia. List of supermarket chains in Oceania. List of oldest companies in Australia. Australia Business Search Engine websites. tofindlocal.com. au.enrollbusiness.com. au.compass.com. au.showmelocal.com. aussieweb.com.au. australia.myhuckleberry.com. bing.com. blue.com.au. brownbook.net. businesslistings.net.au. callupcontact.com. comeonaussie.com. communitywalk.com. cybo.com. silex-australia.com. dlook.com.au. expressbusinessdirectory.com. facebook.com. factual.com. find-us-here.com. foursquare.com. phiple.biz. google.com.au. hotfrog.com.au. iglobal.co. infobell.com. lockharts.com. local.com.au. localbd.com.au. localbusinessguide.com.au. localbusinesssearch.com.au. localstore.com.au. maps.apple.com. nationaldirectory.com.au. parkbench.com. poidb.com, purelocal.com.au, smartguy.com, spoke.com, startlocal.com.au, tomtom.com, truelocal.com.au, tupelo.com, whitepages.com.au, whodou.com, wordofmouth.com.au, yellow.place, yellowpages.com.au, yellowyellow.com, yelp.com.au.